Welcome to this deep dive. Now, we know if you're listening, you're likely preparing for your UPSC exams, looking for those valuable, focused insights. You need stuff that's good for mains, maybe even helpful for prelims, too. So let's get right into it today. Hajo in Assam, an ancient town. It's near Guwahati, and it's just a fantastic real-world example of India's religious blend, its historical depth.
Exactly the kind of thing you need to get your head around for the exam.
Precisely. We're using a detailed piece from First Post today to sort of guide us through this. Our mission, basically, is to pull out the key historical, religious, cultural points about Hajo. We'll focus quite a bit on the Hayagriva Madhava Temple.
Right.
And see how it all fits into that bigger picture of Indian heritage.
Well, the first thing I think is its location. You mentioned it's near Guwahati, but it's distinct. About 30 kilometers northwest, northern banks of the Brahmaputra. It feels older, set apart.
Yeah, that contrast with Guwahati is quite stark, isn't it? Hints at a unique story.
Definitely. And, the name itself has changed over time.
Oh, right. The source mentioned that. Not always Hajo.
No. Names like Apurnapava, Manakutgram.
Yeah.
Even Sujabad, which sounds like it might be from the Mughal era.
Interesting. That sequence alone, like layers of history just in the names, a small detail, but tells you something.
It really does. And central to all this, sitting up there on Manakut Hill, is the Hayagriva Madhava Temple. The mythology behind it is, well, quite key.
The Asura Hayagriva trying to steal the Vedas.
That's the one. And Vishnu intervening, taking on a specific avatar.
The horse-headed avatar, right. Hayagriva Madhava, human body, horse's head. Very distinct image.
Very. And inside the sanctum, it's not just him. You've got Jagannatha, Garuda, Govinda, Madhava, too.
So clearly Vaishnavite.
Oh, absolutely. That's firmly established. It shows how these legends become, the focus of worship.
And the building itself. The architecture must tell a story, too.
It does. You've got the standard parts, the sanctum, the mandapa, or assembly hall. This one has 4 big pillars, a passage connecting them. But the outer wall is really something special.
Oh, you mean the elephants?
Yes. The frieze, rows of elephants at the bottom. The article describes it as looking like they're carrying the temple.
That image really sticks with you, doesn't it?
Right.
Quite powerful.
It is. And then above the elephants, wow, it's like a galaxy of gods, as they put it.
Okay, so who's represented there?
Various Vishnu incarnations, Varaha, Narasimha, Kalki, but also other figures, Indra, Vayu, Agni, and importantly, for that idea of syncretism we talked about.
Right.
There are representations linked to Shaivism and Shakti worship, too, all together.
So different Hindu traditions coexisting, visually represented right there on the temple walls.
Fascinating.
Exactly. It suggests a real openness, historically.
And then there's that other structure, the Fakua Dol, the smaller shrine.
Yeah, the Fakua Dol. It sits on top of a sort of pyramid structure within the complex. Yeah. You climb steps to get to it.
And it looks different, doesn't it? Octagonal, domed.
Yes, and inside there's apparently a wooden object used for carrying deities during festivals. But the outside, that's what's really curious.
The soldiers with guns. Right. Depictions of soldiers with firearms. Very unusual for a temple.
It really makes you stop and think, what period is that? What does it signify? Conflict, interaction. Great stuff for historical analysis.
Absolutely. It shows how these sacred sites aren't isolated. They reflect the times.
And the layers don't stop there. There are interfaith connections, too.
Big time. There's a Buddhist belief that this is where the Buddha attained Nirvana.
Really? Nirvana in Hajo.
That's the belief. It might be linked to an old pillar found there. Some even speculate it could be a Shokin.
Wow, an Ashokan pillar link. That pushes the history back considerably and broadens its significance immensely.
It certainly suggests Hajo was important to multiple faiths for a very long time. And then there's another layer. Some Bhutias from Bhutan believe the main Hayagriva Madhava image actually came from Tibet.
Okay, so that points to cultural exchange, maybe trade routes, connections across the Himalayas, crucial for understanding regional dynamics.
Precisely. All these threads are woven together there.
So what about the actual age of the temple we see today?
Well, the ASI, the Archaeological Survey of India, they date the current structure to 1583 CE.
Okay, specific date.
Yes, built by the Koch dynasty ruler Raghudeva. That gives us a solid historical marker.
But I sense there's a but.
There is. There's a strong local belief and maybe some evidence of an older temple underneath, perhaps 10th, 11th century CE. Some even suggest possible Gupta period influences way back. It's common, this building on older sacred ground.
Signifies continuous importance, I suppose.
Exactly. And the history isn't all peaceful construction. The source mentions inscriptions talking about destruction, too.
Ah, conflict.
Yes, specifically, an attack by a Muslim army is mentioned in relation to the original temple. So you have periods of conflict, destruction, and then rebuilding, a familiar pattern, unfortunately.
Yet, despite all that, it's still a living temple today.
Very much so. Actively worshipped, they maintain an attained dweep.
The ever-burning lamp.
Yes, symbolizing that unbroken continuity of faith right in the inner sanctum. It's quite moving.
And what about other traditions? The source mentioned something about birds.
Ugh. The Bulbul fights, yes. Apparently, this was a tradition started during Makar Sankranti by an Ahom ruler way back in the 17th century. Became quite popular, part of the local culture intertwined with the festival.
But it was stopped.
It was banned in 2015, yes. But there's talk, maybe efforts, to revive it.
Interesting. Shows how culture, religion, local practices, laws, they all intersect and evolve. A good case study for sociocultural dynamics.
Definitely. And here's a completely different angle, biodiversity.
In the temple complex.
Believe it or not, yes. The temple pond is apparently home to 14 different species of turtles.
14? Wow.
Including, possibly, efforts to help revive the black softshell turtle, which is critically endangered.
That's amazing. A sacred site acting as a sort of unexpected wildlife sanctuary.
It really shows how these places can have multiple layers of significance, sometimes in ways you wouldn't expect, like conservation.
So Hajo isn't just this one temple, though it's central. There are others.
Oh, yes. The article briefly mentions Kameshwar, Ganesha, and Kedar temples nearby. Reinforces its role as a broader sacred landscape.
And the multi-faith aspect.
That's reinforced by the presence of the Poa Mecca Mosque nearby. It's Mughal era.
Right. So mosque and temples existing in proximity, pointing to that long history of coexistence. Vital for understanding India's composite culture.
Absolutely. And, tying it all together is this local belief
Yes.
that people instinctively turn to the Hayagriva Madhava Temple when they're in crisis, much like the Devas sought Vishnu's help in the original myth.
That speaks volumes about its living importance to the community, doesn't it? The faith connection remains strong.
It really does.
Okay, so let's try and summarize the key takeaways here, especially for UPSC aspirants listening. Hajo clearly is like a microcosm of India's religious and historical diversity.
Definitely.
With the Hayagriva Madhava Temple right at its heart, showcasing everything from mythology, architecture, reflecting different eras.
Those interfaith connections we talked about, Buddhist links, Tibetan connections.
And traditions that are still alive or evolving, like the Bulbul fights or even the turtle conservation.
It's a fantastic case study for understanding things like religious pluralism, how different rulers impact culture, how traditions persist, all very relevant themes.
Absolutely. Understanding these regional histories, that syncretism, it's just crucial for getting a real grip on Indian culture for the syllabus.
Couldn't agree more.
It really makes you ponder, doesn't it? How a place like Hajo, with all its layers, informs our understanding of social harmony, national identity, maybe even offers lessons for today.
That's a great thought to leave people with, how these ancient sites resonate now.
So for everyone deep in their UPSC prep, we hope this dive has given you some solid, useful insights. If it helped, please do give us a like, subscribe for more deep dives, and definitely leave a comment if you have questions. Want to help your preparation.
And just as a final note, remember this discussion was based on information sourced from First Post.